Hi, welcome to Wellness in Every Season. This is episode 84. Today I have with me Rita Yost, a mindset, healing, and well-being coach. Welcome to Wellness in Every Season. We talk all things wellness to help you align yourself, align with your goals, find balance in your life, and just recalibrate yourself. If you are listening for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And let's get started in the rest of the podcast. What does that mean for you and your business?
Hey, for me, being a mindset and wellbeing coach, I support women to reclaim mental well-being and self-worth through shifting limiting beliefs, perspectives, reframing old stories. And I also use inner child work as well to go deep into healing just past traumas, past hurts, and just going a little bit deeper on and self-healing.
I'm so grateful you're on. I know that you have quite the story with your daughter. Can you tell us about your journey and bring her into your story?
Yeah, of course. My daughter, who's 6 years old, when she was 6 weeks old, she got rushed to hospital and then rushed to intensive care and then had to have life-saving heart surgery at 6 weeks old. So she was born with congenital heart issues, which we were unaware of. That was a big shock to the system, especially new motherhood and being a single mum. But that really was a big motivator for me to really carry on with my profession and really got me going deeper into wanting to help other women and mothers with their mental well-being. It was a massive challenge. People were like, I don't know how you did it. You were so calm. There's a little bit of stress, but I was able to cope. I put that down to the work I'd already been doing on myself with my mental health and well-being as my priority. Because from my past mental state, I would have been engulfed in fear. I may have made it the situation about me and why is this happening to me? So yeah, it was a massive motivator for me to support other women, help them on their journey of just making sure that their mental well-being's top priority and making self-care, top priority.
Wow, this is unusual. So, what happened with your daughter is not what led you to coaching. You are already a coach.
Yeah, I had started the journey. It gave me that extra push with my mental health journey as well. I just saw the benefits of it so much that I had to share it, support women and let them know they don't have to be defined by their experiences and mental health issues. We all have the inner power to shift any challenges we're going through and change.
Can you tell us more about the inner child work that
Mm.
really separates you from other coaches that I've interviewed? Because so many of us are life coaches. I am as well. But the
Mm-hmm.
inner work part, the child work, I'm curious about that. Tell me about that.
Inner child work really was one of the big shifts. Coaching, all of it together combined, coaching, therapy, but inner child work, I really felt the massive shift so quickly with myself. So inner child work is where we connect with our inner selves. We validate our pains and our traumas without re-traumatizing. We just allow ourselves to feel and be with our experiences from the past. But at the same time, we're building that connection with ourselves. So we're also finding our joy and our curious side and it's just that connection with yourself and finding out who you really are.
I wanted to let you know that there are some amazing things happening behind the scenes here that I'm very excited about. The first one is I am opening my podcast up for sponsorships. So if you are an aligned brand with wellness, reach out to me. You can find me wellnessinEverySeason.com/podcast www.cultivating.com/sponsor. I also have something going on for you listeners. If you've been listening for a while, I interview people who are aligned with wellness, and they talk about the healing modalities and different modalities that they do, but it is in a very descriptive sense. I am making it so that you have the chance to experience it during a recorded episode, and other people get to experience it alongside you so that we can really see how it works. Instead of just this zoomed out experience, we get to really zoom in and experience it. So you can find out more about that at wellnessinEverySeason.com/listener wellness guest. Sounds like this isn't something you should do on your own. You should do it with somebody experienced, such as yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Things can come up, and there are aspects of trauma that will appear. We do work through that. So it's best to find support and do that with a professional.
Why is this important to do this work? I know that sometimes it can show up if you're triggered. So why is this important for people?
Yeah, the inner child work.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important just for, especially for me, one of my main motivators for doing it was to break the generational cycles and patterns of behavior that we may be aware of or may not even be aware of that have been passed down through the generations to us. The trauma goes so far back, we wouldn't know where it started. So a lot of the time we're walking around having no idea why we're feeling a certain way or acting a certain way or reacting a certain way. And if we don't do this inner work, then we can pass it down to future generations. For me, that was another massive motivator, not pass anything down to my daughter. So it was even more important to do the inner work and healing.
Tell us about your journey, what you do.
So I support women to reclaim mental well-being, and mental well-being is a massive part for me. So mental health, but overall well-being. So I also do energy healing. I had mental health struggles for as far back as I can remember. About 8 or 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. That awareness that my diagnosis gave me took me on the journey of self-healing and self-discovery and self-responsibility. I found it was important. Once I was aware of where I was, what the issues were, I knew I had to do something about it. And I live quite remotely, so the resources available to me were very limited. I was referred to do cognitive behavioral therapy. However, because the resources were limited, it just kept getting put back off and held off. And that was really another push for me to do what I do, because we need support, but we also have to make decisions, take action, and develop self-responsibility.
Sounds like this was not an overnight journey. That's why it's
No,
called a journey,
definitely
right?
not. Yeah, no, definitely not. A lifetime journey, isn't it?
I have trauma in my childhood, and just
Yeah,
realizing it is not a flip the switch type of thing. It is one step at a time for my whole life.
absolutely. It's good to bring that to the table and let people know, because sometimes we want a quick fix, but unfortunately, it's not that easy. It's not.
I'm realizing as I've been reflecting on it that it is like a deep wound, and there's layers of healing. And if wounds don't typically, they heal a little bit on the top, but then they do all like from the base up of all the layers of skin.
Yeah.
And if it's just the Band-Aid and nothing's healed underneath, we know what it's like. We've all had that where especially when we're kids, when we're moving around all the time and then we rupture it and it starts bleeding again. That's what a trigger is, right? And if we're not doing the healing, it shows up. And if it's this flip a switch deal, then we're not doing the learning and we don't have the growth. That's my silver lining in my journey.
Yeah.
Why is that coming up again?
Yes. So true. And I also believe that I thought I dealt with that already. Why is it coming up again? You can get frustrated, but once we have met the need of one challenge or part of ourselves, as we grow, we become more able to deal with the deeper stuff. More comes out. It's like the onion layer, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
found an Instagram post that was really funny. It's of a baggage claim, and it's
Mhm.
somebody who's waiting for that one piece of baggage, but instead it all gets dumped on them. The writing says, "I went to therapy to deal with one issue, and this is what happened instead. It's all the luggage." And I sent it to
Yeah.
my therapist, and she's, "Yep, pretty much."
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
everything else starts to come up, things you never knew were an issue.
Yeah.
You've healed this area, so now you're more sensitive, and you see that this other area needs work, and
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, you careful what you wish for with healing, I
Yes.
guess.
I've seen one on Instagram a few months ago, and it was about, yeah, it just resonated with me. And it was along the lines of, I've never seen any life transformation that didn't begin with the person getting tired of their own fools. Instantly, I laughed, I smiled. So true. When I look back at my journey, that's where I was. I was just like, oh, I've had enough of where I'm at, of what I'm feeling, or who I'm being. Uh, so yeah, it resonated really.
So you experienced a breakup during your pregnancy
Mm,
that led to introspection, growth,
yeah.
pain, and I'm sure that still has helped you. It sounds like you use self-care and meeting with yourself. What else did you use to help yourself through that for any listeners who have experienced or knew of somebody experiencing something like this?
Yeah, that was one of the hardest times I can remember. I feel like I felt it in the past I could numb myself with alcohol or whatever else when I was feeling a certain way. But when I was pregnant, obviously you can't do that. So I felt everything. At the same time, that was one of the most empowering things that I think I've went through at that time in my life, just because I was able to see that I can cope with these crazy emotions, and nothing bad is going to happen from it, even though it was painful and not nice. And it helped me develop as a person and grow. Meditation is a massive part of my daily routine. It centers me, grounds me, sets me up for the day. Exercise is another massive thing that I use in my life to help me just stay on top of my well-being and feeling good. What else did I use during? Uh, yeah, yeah,
You wrote this 4 months ago, but you talked about
yeah.
the
Sorry.
power of self-care,
Mhm.
meeting yourself where you are, healing to be the best role model you can be, developing a stable inner foundation to manage and cope in motherhood. Tell me about
Yeah,
that last part, develop the stable inner foundation.
yeah. For me, the most important aspect of our whole well-being, when I talk about well-being, it's that inner foundation. It's like that self-worth. It's that balance within. And I know people might hear balance a lot, and I personally talk a lot about balance with my coaching. And to me, it's that, yeah, inner self-worth, having the healthy coping mechanisms to manage motherhood and life. It's the inner balance of knowing you matter and that you're enough no matter what. Because for me in the past, I had no connection to who I was, no self-worth. I was in a spiral, and developing that inner child work is powerful for building that inner foundation and connection with who you are. And that way you can take on the challenges of life easier. It's not saying it's going to be all easy, but when you've got that strong foundation, I believe it's just, and I've experienced that life is easier to manage and cope. and understand.
For me, what came up is I was thinking about parts work. How old is this part of you?
Mm,
That's part of the inner child work I've done. I haven't used it on anybody. I've mostly done it for myself. I use
mhm,
parts differently in my coaching practice.
mhm.
Eventually, I'll have somebody where I'm like, this tool will work for you, but I haven't needed.
Yeah.
And the other one is, oh, where was I going? I forgot it. Oh, if you have children, you realize how much they have their own spirit, personality, and we can go through this life, switching it to now being the adult. We can go through this life with these beliefs about ourselves that are completely false because
Mm,
our parents, our caregivers, life at a young age could have tried to make us something different. For me, it's really easy to see how that's happened to me now watching my children and seeing that they are perfectly themselves. And it's
mm,
my job to steer them in the direction they're naturally going and to protect them. My oldest is very intelligent. And because of that, he lacks grit sometimes. If
mhm,
something doesn't come easy, he's already tried the next thing. It's reminding him that you are going to enjoy looking back when you have gotten through this hard thing, when you have to
mm.
learn this hard concept. He's really good at math, but he hates showing his work. When the homework comes home, nope, you're going to show your work on this. We're going to develop this as a habit. You need to show your work in math, especially if you end up being anything like your daddy with engineering. You have to show your work.
Yeah.
So there's those type of things where if you have trauma that comes in even later in life, but right now we're talking about inner work, childhood,
Mm,
that it can change your course. Doing this work helps set us back on the course we were naturally supposed to be on. That's what really came up for me when you were talking.
I feel that as well. When we have children, it really does become apparent if we're on a self-discovery journey. It becomes more apparent the traumas we have. We may become more aware of things we want to shift and change so that we don't pass on to our children or anything like that. It's sometimes it's overwhelming because to think about all these things, isn't it, as a parent? But again, it's not to be too hard on ourselves either because we are just all learning and growing and we're all doing the best we can with where we're at and what we've been through. I love the saying, you've never been exactly where you are now. You've never ever been at this moment. So I take that as peace of mind that I won't have all the answers and to stop worrying about having all the answers.
See, the one that I was thinking about, I am totally going to butcher it. Sorry for those who know this quote, but it's one of those now you know better, do better, giving yourself that grace.
Hmm.
And when you were sharing yours, what resonated for me is that curiosity bit. If you are staying curious and you're not judging yourself, so then you can learn the things that you need to. And I think using that quote of "You've never been here before" opens that door to curiosity.
Yeah.
Is there
Mhm.
anything else that you want to share before you tell us how we can follow you? And
For me, it's been with motherhood and life, prioritizing self-care and mental and emotional health is top priorities. It can feel wrong to think like that as a mother, to put ourselves first because we normally are putting our children first and everybody else, which we do. But it's just making sure that we have time for ourselves too, because to be the best role models we can be, we have to come from a place of the healthiest place that we can. So that involves uh, inner work, self healing, making sure that we are feeling good, making sure that we're still being us as well as mother and wife or any other role that we have to play in life. Yeah, I just feel like it's really important to make that top priority.
what I think about are, I'm sure you've met clients and people that are so devoted to their children that when their children have lives of their own, They
Mm,
struggle, like capital letter struggle, in a
yeah.
hard way. Some end up seeing therapists at that time. That's sometimes when we gain them as clients. But what if you are taking care of yourself all along so you know yourself and you're being that example so your children don't do the same when they're parents?
One day your children will leave and have their own lives. So we must have our own lives. We still have to be our own people as well as caretakers, nurturers. And then, yeah, that's a healthy model for our children to do that, isn't it? For their future and their children and families.
I talk a lot about self-care in my
Mm,
coaching practice, but sometimes it can feel hard to grasp. The biggest advice I would give for self-care is really taking a moment to tune into your body and what do I need right now? And then
yeah.
doing that. If I can't do it right now, scheduling it as soon as you can. What would your advice be towards that? How can you capitalize on what I gave?
Yeah, can I? Yeah, absolutely. Following what you need in each moment, if it's quiet time, support, if it's whatever. Yeah, definitely tuning into your intuition is really empowering. If there's things you want to change, you absolutely can. And taking these little steps. Sometimes I think some people were looking for the big grand answer, or there's this big grand way to fix things. But for me, it's all the little things, the little self care bits you do for yourself every day. That's what amounts to the success of getting to where you want to be, being healthy and looking after your well being.
If you are, you can better verbalize these things for your children. What does your body need right now? Okay, you're throwing a tantrum. Are you hungry? You could have those conversations with your children and know what these things feel like. You will better know from being that example. I love that you talk about self care. We find you.
Awesome. And you can find me on Facebook at Rita Yoss Coaching. Also on Instagram, I am underscore Rita Yost. TikTok at Rita Yost1. My website is www.ritayostcoaching.com. And my email is contact@ritayostcoaching.com.
Perfect. And I will have all of that linked in the description so you can
Thank you.
easily find her. Thank you so much for being on. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much for giving me the space and time to chat. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that you found the answers that you needed and you had some amazing aha moments. Please share this episode with others because it helps us align ourselves and then better align the world so that we can seek the healing that we really are looking for. As part of the legal language, I am a certified life coach with a bachelor's in applied health. That is what I am leaning on for this. This is general advice. Take it as such. See you in the next episode.